Released body camera video shows the moments Tiger Woods was arrested. Deputies say the golfer showed signs of impairment after he clipped a truck while speeding and rolled his car over last week.
Tiger Woods, with 15 major championships, arguably the most dominant athlete of his generation, has just been arrested, charged, and photographed in a mugshot that went around the world in hours. And the woman sitting closest to all of it, the one person everyone wanted to hear from, went completely quiet. No statement, nothing. Then, just when the silence started to say something on its own, Vanessa Trump posted something that stopped people mid-scroll, and it wasn't what anyone expected her to say.
His girlfriend, Vanessa Trump, posting for the first time yesterday with a photo on her Instagram story showing herself and Tiger cuddled up on a hammock with the words, "Love you," and several heart emojis.
What's actually going on between these two? What happened in the days surrounding that arrest? And what Vanessa hasn't said out loud yet is a more complicated story than the headlines are giving it. The arrest that nobody saw coming, and everybody did. 3 days before everything fell apart, Tiger Woods was on a golf course in front of a crowd that was genuinely happy to see him back. Woods had just competed in the TGL Championship, a tech-driven indoor golf league he helped create, captaining the Jupiter Lynx team. Vanessa Trump was in the stands. Her daughter Kai was there too. It looked, from the outside, like a man putting his life back together after years of injuries, surgeries, and setbacks. He was 50 years old, had undergone 7 back surgeries and more than 20 operations on his leg overall, and was still managing to show up on a competitive stage. It was the kind of comeback story that people genuinely wanted to believe in. Then came the afternoon of March 27th. Woods was driving his Land Rover on a 2-lane road in Jupiter Island, Florida, roughly 4 miles from his home. According to the arrest affidavit released by the Martin County Sheriff's Office, he attempted to pass a pickup truck that was slowing to turn into a driveway. Woods crossed a double solid line, clipped the back of the trailer the truck was pulling, and his vehicle rolled onto the driver's side and skidded to a stop. He wasn't unconscious. He climbed out of the window himself. But what law enforcement found when they arrived told a different story than someone who had simply been involved in a road accident. The responding deputy noted that Woods was sweating heavily, that his movements were lethargic and slow, and that his eyes were bloodshot and glassy with extremely dilated pupils. He told officers he had come from home, that he had been looking at his phone and adjusting the radio when the crash happened, and that he takes several prescription medications and had taken some that morning. During a search, officers found 2 white pills in his left pants pocket. They were later identified as hydrocodone, a prescription opioid used for pain management. Woods took a breathalyzer test and blew 0. Twice. There was no alcohol in his system. But when officers requested a urine test, the test that would have revealed whether prescription medications were affecting his ability to drive, Woods refused. Under Florida law, that refusal is itself a misdemeanor charge. He was placed under arrest just after 3 in the afternoon, taken to Martin County Jail, and held for approximately 8 hours before being released on bond around midnight. His mugshot, showing bloodshot eyes and the expression of someone who knew exactly what was happening, was released the same night. Vanessa Trump and her daughter Kai had not been in the car. They were not present at the scene. But what happened in the days that followed, both publicly and privately, is where the real story begins. What the body cam footage showed that the mugshot didn't. The mugshot told you what Tiger Woods looked like at the end of the arrest. The body cam footage told you what the hours before it actually looked like, and the 2 accounts of that afternoon are considerably different in tone. The footage, which was released publicly in the days following the arrest, showed Woods interacting with law enforcement at the scene in a way that was simultaneously cooperative and confused. He was talkative. He had hiccups throughout. At points, he yawned. At one point during the processing period, he briefly appeared to nod off. He questioned his arrest, not aggressively, but in the way someone does when they genuinely cannot connect the dots between what they believe about themselves and what the situation around them suggests. The field sobriety tests he was put through were detailed in the probable cause affidavit. Officers conducted a horizontal gaze nystagmus test, the one where a person is asked to follow the tip of a pen with their eyes without moving their head. Woods moved his head repeatedly, despite being told multiple times to keep it still. His eye movements showed what the deputy described as a lack of smooth pursuit. He was also put through a series of additional coordination tests, with results that varied, but ultimately led the deputy to conclude that his normal faculties were impaired and that he was unable to safely operate a vehicle. Woods told officers about his medical history, 7 back surgeries, more than 20 procedures on his leg, and said he takes a few types of medication. He maintained that he hadn't consumed any alcohol or illegal substances. The medications listed in the report were partially redacted. What made the body cam footage land differently than the mugshot was the specificity of it. The mugshot was a frozen moment. The footage was a timeline, and what it showed was a man who wasn't belligerent, wasn't combative, and wasn't what most people picture when they picture a DUI arrest. He was slow, confused, and clearly impaired by something. The question of what exactly that something was remains, legally speaking, open, because without the urine test, there's no definitive answer. That legal technicality matters, and it's part of why the case moving forward is more complicated than a straightforward DUI charge might suggest. This wasn't the first time, not even close. Here's the context that makes the March 27th arrest impossible to view in isolation. It was the 4th driving-related incident involving Tiger Woods since 2009, and the 2nd time he had been arrested on a DUI charge. The first incident came on Thanksgiving night of 2009. Woods crashed his Cadillac Escalade into a fire hydrant and a tree in a neighbor's yard in the early morning hours near his home in Windermere, Florida. No DUI charge was filed, but the incident cracked open one of the biggest personal scandals in sports history. Within weeks, reports of multiple extramarital affairs surfaced. His marriage to Elin Nordegren dissolved, and several major sponsors ended their relationships with him. The crash itself was minor. What followed it was not. The second incident came in May of 2017. Officers in Jupiter, Florida, found Woods asleep at the wheel of a Mercedes-Benz stopped in a traffic lane at approximately 2 in the morning, engine running. He was arrested on suspicion of DUI. Toxicology reports later identified 5 separate substances in his system, a combination of prescription pain medications and sleep aids, with no alcohol present. Woods attributed it to an unexpected reaction to his prescribed medications following a spinal fusion surgery earlier that year. He ultimately pleaded guilty to reckless driving, avoided jail time, paid a $250 fine, completed 50 hours of community service, and entered a first-time DUI offender diversion program. The original DUI charge was dropped. The third incident came in February of 2021. Woods was driving on a winding coastal road outside Los Angeles on his way to a photo shoot when his SUV left the road and rolled multiple times. Investigators said he had been traveling between 84 and 87 miles per hour on a road with a 45-mile-per-hour speed limit. He sustained severe injuries to his right leg and ankle, comminuted open fractures requiring a rod, screws, and pins to stabilize, and spent months in recovery. No DUI charges were filed, because authorities did not pursue a blood draw. And then came March 27th of this year. What connects all four incidents isn't recklessness in the conventional sense. It's the collision between a body that has been through an extraordinary amount of physical trauma, a long-term relationship with prescription pain management, and a series of decisions that, in hindsight, look like a pattern nobody was successfully interrupting. That pattern is exactly what Vanessa Trump was confronting when she got the news. What Vanessa actually said and what she didn't. The first thing Vanessa Trump did after the arrest was nothing, and that silence was its own statement. Woods was arrested on a Friday. Over the weekend, Trump returned to Instagram and posted a photo of her daughter Kai at a tennis tournament. No mention of Woods, no acknowledgement of what had happened. Just a normal, unrelated update. The kind of thing you post when you need to be present on social media, but aren't ready to say anything about the thing everyone is asking about. Anyone paying attention understood exactly what that post was and wasn't. Then, the following Friday, 1 week after the arrest, she posted again. This time it was a photo of herself and Woods on a hammock, relaxed, close. The same photo that Woods had originally shared on his own social media account back in March of 2025 when he first publicly announced their relationship. He had written, when he first posted it, that life is better with her by his side. She overlaid it now with 2 words. Love you. That was it. No elaboration, no address of the arrest, no signal about what was going to happen next, just the photo and 2 words. The choice of that specific photo mattered. It was the relationship's origin image, the one he used to tell the world they were together. By reposting it in this moment, she was communicating something deliberate. This is still what we are. Nothing that has happened has changed what this is. Sources close to the situation told outlets including TMZ that Trump and Woods had talked about what happened, that there had been no fighting and no discussion of ending the relationship, and that she was standing behind him as he dealt with the aftermath. But other reporting, including from the Daily Mail, painted a more complicated picture, suggesting that Trump was not happy when she first learned about the arrest, that she considered it a serious red flag, and that she made clear to Woods that he needed to get things under control. One source described her as telling him directly that she would require him to address whatever was going on, or she would not stay. The insulting remark angle added another layer. Reports emerged that when Trump expressed concern for Woods in the immediate aftermath, he essentially dismissed her worry, indicating he had everything under control. Given the circumstances, that response did not land well. What's visible from the outside is a woman managing 2 competing realities at once: genuine support for someone she clearly cares about, and genuine alarm at a situation she didn't create and can't fix. The Instagram post resolved the public question of where she stood. It didn't resolve the private one. Tiger's statement, the Masters, and what comes next. Woods broke his public silence 4 days after the arrest. In a statement posted to his social media accounts, he acknowledged the seriousness of what had happened and announced that he was stepping away for a period of time to seek treatment. He said he understood the gravity of the situation, that getting help was necessary in order to prioritize his well-being, and that he was committed to taking the time needed to return to a healthier place, both personally and professionally. He pleaded not guilty to the DUI charge in court and filed a request with the court for permission to receive medical treatment outside the United States, suggesting the program he had in mind wasn't domestic. The timing of the statement mattered for reasons beyond the legal case. The Masters, one of golf's 4 major championships, and the tournament where Woods has produced some of the most defining moments of his career, including his 2019 comeback victory that stands as one of the most emotional wins in the sport's history, was approaching on the calendar. His announcement effectively confirmed what the arrest had already made likely. He would not be playing. The PGA of America responded to his treatment plans with a statement of support, which was notable, given that Woods had already declined the role of United States captain for the 2027 Ryder Cup before the arrest even happened. Combined with the fact that his last competitive tournament had been the 2024 British Open, where he finished near the bottom of the field after playing through significant physical difficulty, the picture of someone whose body and circumstances had been working against his ability to compete had been building quietly for some time. The arrest didn't create that picture. It just made it impossible to look away from. President Donald Trump commented publicly on the situation, telling reporters he believed Woods was doing well and offering a character endorsement during what was still an active legal proceeding. Whether that kind of visibility from the sitting president helps or complicates things in a courtroom is a question legal observers raised almost immediately. On the legal side, Woods pleaded not guilty. The DUI charge carries real consequences, particularly because this is his second such arrest. The refusal to submit to a urine test is a separate misdemeanor, and, depending on how the prosecution approaches the case, may end up being the more significant charge. Because without toxicology results, proving impairment to the standard required for a DUI conviction becomes genuinely complicated. Defense attorneys speaking to various outlets made the point that the absence of the urine test creates a gap in the state's evidence that the prosecution will have to work around. The case has considerable distance to travel before anything is resolved, and the outcome is far from predetermined. The relationship nobody expected, and what it reveals now. Tiger Woods and Vanessa Trump were first publicly connected in March of 2025, roughly a year before the arrest. The two had reportedly met through their children's school, which placed the beginning of their relationship in a context that was notably quieter and more grounded than either of their public profiles would suggest. It was Woods himself who made it official, posting the hammock photo on his own social media with a caption about looking forward to their journey through life together. For someone who had kept his personal life tightly guarded for years, that was a deliberate and considered move. Woods had not been in a publicly known serious relationship since his marriage to Elin Nordegren ended in 2010, following the revelations that came out of the 2009 crash and the years of tabloid coverage that followed. The period between then and Vanessa Trump had included sustained physical injury, multiple surgeries, the near-career-ending 2021 crash in Los Angeles, and a slow and painful attempt to stay relevant in a sport where he had once made everyone else look like they were playing a fundamentally different game. By the time he and Vanessa Trump became public, he was 50 years old, held together partly by surgical hardware and navigating the particular difficulty of being Tiger Woods. When Tiger Woods can no longer consistently do what Tiger Woods built his entire identity doing. Vanessa Trump brought her own weight to the relationship. She had been married to Donald Trump Jr. for 12 years before filing for divorce in 2018. They share 5 children, the oldest of whom, Kai, has become a publicly visible figure in her own right as a competitive golfer. The family connection to the current president gave the relationship a layer of political and media scrutiny that wouldn't have attached to almost any other pairing. What the arrest revealed about their dynamic is something that was probably always present but hadn't been stress-tested at this level. Vanessa Trump does not perform publicly what she hasn't settled privately. The week of silence before the Instagram post wasn't confusion or indecision. It was someone taking the time to figure out where she actually stood before committing to a public position. And when she did post, it was deliberate. The original relationship photo, the one he chose when he first told the world about them, repurposed now as a quiet but clear answer to everyone asking whether she was still in. The private picture is more textured. Reports of her initial alarm, her concern about what the arrest meant for her children who spend time with Woods, and her reported expectation that he get things under control or face real consequences in the relationship. Those details sit alongside the public show of support and don't fully cancel each other out. Both things can be true. She can mean the Instagram post and also mean the private ultimatum. That tension between the public statement and the private reality is probably the most honest version of where things actually stand. And it mirrors, in a way, everything else about this story. What's visible on the surface and what's actually happening underneath it have never quite matched up. Here's what nobody can seem to agree on: whether Vanessa Trump posting that photo was strength or denial. One side sees a woman who looked at everything: the arrest, the mugshot, the body cam footage, the history, and made a clear, informed choice to stay. The other side sees someone who's been handed a pattern that goes back to 2009 and is calling it a red flag when it's closer to a track record. What are your thoughts about this? We would like to hear from you in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. For more interesting stories like this, be sure to click on the next video that pops up on your screen. You never know what you'll discover next.